the first time the term was used. It's in Acts chapter 11. It says, the disciples were called Christians first at Antioch. Now, the ancient city of Antioch, it was called the entire world in one city because it was a very ethnically and culturally diverse city, but it was also a very segregated city. And there were certain lines that people of different races and ethnicities and economic classes did not and could not cross. But then the church shows up in Antioch and begins to spread, and the Christians, the church members, they begin breaking down all of these dividing walls between the people. They bring people together of different races and classes in a way that the ancient world has never seen before, and treated them all as equals. And the citizens of Antioch, they look at what the church is doing, and they think to themselves, we've seen religious groups come and go before, but you don't really fit any of those categories of the religious groups we're familiar with. And we've seen plenty of political groups come and go before, but you don't fit the behaviors of any of the political groups we see. You're defying all of our categories. So they gave a new category. They defined a new category for the church because they've never seen anyone exemplify behavior like this. And they called them Christian. Christ, because you keep talking about this Christ that you follow, this king you follow. You make it clear that your king is Christ, and that's what the label Christ means. It's not a name, it's a title, which means the anointed one, to be king. So you have this king you follow, you're Christian, which means that's the party you belong to. Like a couple of weeks ago, we learned about the Herodian party, the party of Herod. Well, by calling them Christian, they're saying, to use our vernacular today, you're the Christ party. You're not any of our political parties, and you're not any of our religious systems. You must belong to this party of Christ. And they had very specific behaviors that publicly caused them to be identified as part of this new party that was loyal to King Jesus. And in the first century world, they were incredibly united about what that meant. The outside world looked at them, and their defining qualities were that they prayed, that they sacrificed, that they practiced hospitality. They were cheerful, whether they had plenty or want, whether they had the favor of the people or the persecution of Rome. They were cheerful all the time. Now, that seemed obvious as the way to behave in the first century. James, who was the younger brother of Jesus, he was not a believer until after the resurrection of Jesus on Easter Sunday. He ended up becoming the leader of the church in the city of Jerusalem and ended up writing what we today call the book of James, that is in the Bible. Here's what he said about this idea of being Christian. He said, "What good is it, my brothers and sisters, if someone claims to have faith but has no deeds?" See, they didn't even have a category for this. If you have faith in God, if you have faith in Jesus, if you trust that when Jesus died on a cross, he died because he loves you. He died to bear your sin. He died to forgive your sin, and he rose on the third day. If that is your faith, if that is your belief, how can you claim that that is the most foundational aspect of your life, yet have no deeds? What good is a faith like that? The answer is, faith that does no good is no good. That's deep, wasn't it? That's what James said. If a faith that does no good is no good. So in the first century world, their lives, their hearts, reshaped by the love of God, went out into the world and were marked by this love, this humility, this sacrifice. And that is why they were called Christian. But today, in our world, in the 21st century, we seem to be struggling with a new struggle around this whole idea of what does it mean to be Christian. And if you distill it, I think here's what we're trying to figure out today. For the church, who gets to define good? If a faith that does no good is no good, who's the one who gets to define what is good? Let me give you some illustrations. I want to introduce you to my friend Brad. Brad is a pastor out in Washington, D.C. We've been friends a little over 5 years. He is such a good pastor. He's the kind of guy that if I were not around, I would want him to be my family's pastor. I mean, if I ever had Brad to hope, you would ask, why is Jason still here? Can we have Brad, okay? Well, he lives in Washington, D.C., and one of his bucket list dreams in life was to see a game at Lambeau Field. He's never been to Wisconsin, but grew up a sports fan, just always wanted to see a game in Lambeau. Well, in 2022, there was a home Thursday game at Lambeau, which for both of us as pastors, that was like the clouds parting and the heavens opening, and a sign from heaven, this is supposed to happen. And tickets were real cheap in the second half of 2022. I don't remember why. It was just like, won't happen again this season. Will it, Packer fans? Anyway, he came, first time in Wisconsin, we did everything. We bought cheese, did all the things you're supposed to do in Green Bay. And it was just magical. I mean, as soon as we walked into the bowls, giant snowflakes started falling. It was like on cue. So that's how godly he is. God's like, I'm going to give him some snow. Here's a trip to Lambeau. But there was kind of a damper on the whole experience because outside the stadium, we met a street preacher with a megaphone. And the street preacher with the megaphone gave us the unfortunate news that Brad and I are going to hell. Now, my first thought was, oh, that's my line, buddy. Back off. My second thought was, you don't even know us. We're pastors, okay? My third thought was, dude, you are killing our brand, okay? You are making our jobs harder because now you are giving people more associations of the word Christian that we have to work that much harder to overcome if we're going to introduce people to the love of God. Now, Brad and I, we were appalled by what this guy was doing. He thought he was doing good. Who gets to decide?
Hey everyone, thank you so much for checking out that last clip. My name is James and I serve as the Digital Media Director at Hope Church. If you're interested in exploring more about this topic, just click the link down in the description. But we also wanted to take some time to personally invite you to come join us for our next live stream that's going to happen right here on YouTube starting at 8:25 a.m. Central. You'll be welcomed by our on-air host who will guide you through that day's experience. We have chat hosts ready to answer any questions that you might have, and we would just love for you to come be a part of our growing online community. But the real highlight is that we get a chance to meet you. So if you're interested in joining us, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. That way you'll get notified when we go live this Sunday. I cannot wait to hang out with you, and we'll see you there.